primary mandate of my the primary mandate of my administration is to restore law and order.
I heard the sole administrator saying that this is my administration yesterday. The sole administrator does not have any administration. The governor of Rivers State remains Governor Fubara, but his powers are frozen now, pending when the danger that the proclamation is meant to address is taken care of. So the Sole should be very careful about how he's start talking about his administration. If he's talking about administration, then that may be one of the things that may be used actually to strike down this proclamation. Because if those who are threatening to go to court can establish their locus and they can bring material showing that the man is operating as a governor, for instance, I don't see a sole administrator being able to sign a CFO in that state. That's a function constitutionally vested in the governor of a state, and that's not has to do with law and order. All powers that will be exercised by the sole administrator must be related to addressing the challenge which led to his appointment.
It can't be like so all our leaders no can know the constitution again. A sole administrator is now saying my administration. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much in this. I don't want to talk too much, I beg. But it's the sole administrator should know that there are some things he cannot do because he's not the elected governor of that state. Oh yes, there are some things. There are places that his power is limited. Yes. So anyway, let me not talk too much. Please, just take a little time. I'm just bringing this to us so that we will know what is happening. Because I don't know, for Nigeria, our leaders, you will do something, you will utter words that are unconstitutional, and nobody questions you. Let me not just talk too much. Please take a little time, watch this video and watch the response that one of the officials also gave to him. All right, and then drop your comment on the comment section what you think. He is a sole administrator. He is not the elected governor of that state. Please watch this and drop your comment.
We are in the normal course of events. It's an extraordinary situation, and his appointment is still to address that of the federation. It includes any person who is given capacity to act on behalf of the government. So the president's appointment of sole administrator is not to replace the governor. Is to execute his executive power in the state for the purpose of addressing the question of breakdown of law and order. So, and that's why I was a bit worried when I heard the sole administrator saying that this is my administration yesterday. The sole administrator does not have any administration. The governor of Rivers State remains Governor Fubara, but his powers are frozen now, pending when the danger that the proclamation is meant to address is taken care of. So the Sole should be very careful about how he start talking about his administration. If he's talking about administration, then that may be one of the things that may be used actually to strike down this proclamation. Because if those who are threatening to go to court can establish their locus and they can bring material showing that the man is operating as a governor, for instance, I don't see a sole administrator being able to sign a CFO in that state. That's a function constitutionally vested in the governor of a state, and that's not has to do with law and order. All powers that will be exercised by the sole administrator must be related to addressing the challenge which led to his appointment. It cannot include acting and appointing commissioners as if we are in the normal course of events. It's an extraordinary situation, and his appointment is still to address that extraordinary challenge.
Will it, sorry, Kachi, just quick one. Will that function include spending the federal allocation of the state that was suspended under Fubara, but has now been released to him?
Yes, that is very correct. It will include it, because the order of the Supreme Court was that the governor could not spend money without appropriation. In an emergency in which there is an extraordinary intervention by the federal government in terms of the president appointing a delegatee of his authority, the funds of the state is like commandeering assets in a war situation. I'm sure you remember during the COVID era, even President Trump commandeered a lot of assets, even took over factory and said they should be distributing. In a situation of emergency, ordinary emergency, the fund of the state is available for the purpose of running the affairs of the state. he is not operating as, that's why I said they must be careful. If he considers himself a governor, then he will need appropriation. Then he will then need to go to National Assembly in the meantime to get appropriation. But it's not a governor. It's just a delegator of the power of the federal executive authority that has taken over affairs in the state to address the challenge. So the federal government can release funds of the state to him to address that challenge. I mean, the same reason why police is not under the state control. State governments provide vehicles, support police operation security in their states. So as at now, for the proper functioning of the state, salaries of workers have to be paid. The normal functioning of government institutions must continue. So it's only in that respect that he can do it. Don't forget, however, that he is supposed to prepare regulations which Federal Executive Council will approve and which probably the National Assembly can intervene in terms of how he goes about this. I don't think he's going to be doing it in an arbitrary version. And I listened to some of his pronouncements yesterday. He appreciates the duty of accountability.
Okay, so, SAN. Now, just as we wrap this up, everything we've spoken of is based off of that declaration of the state of emergency. But some people will argue that truly the situation in Rivers State, did it warrant a state of emergency? And I'd like you to speak to that, the declaration itself that has led us to now analyzing the sole administrator's powers as against the powers of a governor. You mentioned some vital sections of the Constitution. So looking at 180 305, 5 subsection 3. And then is there a part of the Constitution that also stipulates, how long this suspension could be and how long the state can survive without its governor? Because as you rightly said, the sole administrator does not have the powers of a governor. How would that then affect the people who require a governor for the states to survive?
Thank you. The first question, the prerogative and the decision whether there is a state of emergency to declare a proclamation is that of the president alone. He might do it wrongly. He might abuse it. If he does that, they expect that the parliament, in reviewing his decision, will take a political decision by vote, whether to go along with him or not. The idea is that, like Steve earlier noted, the idea is that parliamentarians will go back to their constituents to have a feel of what they believe about this. It's a political decision. It's not a legal decision. That's why I was worried when people started saying it's not constitutional, it's legal. It is constitutional, but it's a political question, and courts do not answer political questions. Anything that is within the remit of the executive, the court will not second guess them unless it can be shown that they have exceeded the authority. Anything that's within the premise and remit of parliament, the court will not intervene. But the court will intervene after that process is complete, which is now. Now there is a proclamation which has passed through the process of political decision. The court can now determine whether, given materials that may be available to the court, including, in fact, summoning the executive to provide the security report, which might be reviewed in camera in court without being exposed to the whole world, so that the court can decide whether, in this situation, there was a warrant for declaring or proclaiming a state of emergency. That is part of what the court can look into as at now. That is on the question of whether the president had it right. But the fact that he got the parliament to agree with him speaks a lot in terms of the wisdom and correctness of his feeling, his judgment. Because what you have to do is so the condition subsequent to declaration of emergency is that you should get the buy-in of parliament. If you didn't do your own work well, and you don't forget, the Senate had an executive session. What they do in that session is to look at, you remember that Senator Siriakidisky was the one that drew the attention that they ought to have an executive session. At that session, security issues that cannot be publicly exposed will have been considered. And despite that, they went ahead and approved. You might have reason to believe that some other political consideration that will play their part. But that's why the process has been made so rigorous, that if all the majority of people that you have in government think this way, then we probably deserve the people you have in government. And then we are left with trying to test their decision judicially in court.
All right, that's it. Just very, very quickly before we let you go.
Now, you asked me about other provisions of the Constitution.
There was
now,
one more.
Please, let us get one thing. I think you asked.
Yes. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
The Constitution need not provide elaborately for how to manage a situation of emergency. That's why it's an emergency. In fact, the Constitution yields the ground to discretion where the normal functioning of states is not possible. So that the actors in government will not be constrained by the need to say they are doing things by the book. That's why they are called extraordinary measures. That's why they are called extraordinary measures.
All right.
And it is actually for no more than 6 months, not more than 6 months. It could be shorter. If the president tomorrow decides that there is no basis for it anymore, he can by gazette terminate it. Parliament on their own, by simple majority. Now, get the difference now. By simple majority can also terminate it before the end of the 6 months. And I think the parliament eventually put a caveat that the president need not wait till 6 months. One other final thing I want to say is this. If the president, we should understand the need for statecraft. If the president within 3 days could rally around 109 senators and 360 House of Reps members to do what he wanted in terms of legislative approval, can't you see that something was wrong with how Governor Fubara went about his problem with the parliament? That for almost 1.5 years, he fell out with them.
So what do you think? Drop your comment on the comment section, please. Thank you very much. I'll see you in my next video. God bless you.